Hi, hello, I'm Sam Harrison. I read, review and discuss fantasy and science fiction books. Today we have the Friday recap show. So what we go through every Friday is the books that I've been reading, the books that I'm going to read next, the videos that I've made this week, the videos I'm making next week, and then on top of that we'll go through anything else that I've been doing. So games I've been playing, shows, movies, etc. So let's start this week with books. So I started this week with Soul Stealer, so when I recorded the Friday show last week, I think it was Thursday night, and I was very close to the end of Soul Stealer, but I hadn't finished it. And then Friday, I spent the entire day filming. So you've seen the adverts that have been, if you've been watching every video on the channel this month, you have seen that this month we're kindly sponsored by Your Paper Quest, which is a bookish subscription box. There'll be an advert later in the show, but to film those adverts, what I did was I just went kind of like out and about around Somerset in the West Country where I live, and did tons and tons of filming. So I spent like 6 hours filming different ads and driving around to different places to film those ads. It ended up that when I rewatched the footage, I think quite a few of them didn't really pan out for me. I just didn't think that they were good enough. And some I would like miss a bullet point off of that ad read or something like that. So I say ad read, I was making up my own ad text, but I had a few bullet points that I needed to mention, and there's a few where I just kind of forgot it, and it was very frustrating to watch them back and be like, oh, I thought I'd nailed that, and then that kind of makes that entire location of filming like unusable, which is a bit of a shame. I also was playing around with my new gimbal, which has a like tracking feature on it. And unfortunately, the tracking feature on some of the videos goes a bit awry. And I originally was like, right, I'll use the tracking feature so that I don't have to so that I can use the rear facing camera and I can keep myself in shot basically. But there's a few times where like I take a step to the left or something, and then the camera just goes woof, and it like really quickly pans. And my wife said it made her feel a bit sick, so don't want to do that to you guys, so I'm going to try not to use any of those clips. However, I really enjoyed those. I really enjoyed that day of filming, and on that day of filming, I started listening to a new book on Audible. So Soul Stealer doesn't have an audiobook, and because of that, I spent the day driving around. I was like, well, if I'm going to be driving around all day, I would like to be listening to an audiobook, because I'd like to be, being productive with that driving time, and also audiobooks while driving are really fun. I love listening to audiobooks while driving. I listened to like half of a Wheel of Time book while driving around, because I had a lot of driving for work to do a few months ago. So yeah, now this time the audiobook that I chose was Soul Fraud. Now I talked this is by Andrew Givler, by the way. So I talked a little bit about Soul Fraud last week in the this week actually, in my August wrap up, because I did start it in August. However, I finished it in September. So I finished Soul Stealer and Soul Fraud like one day after the other. So I finished Soul Stealer on September 1st, I think, and Soul Fraud on September 2nd. And then I started Eyes of Empire by JCM Byrne, which is the 5th book in the Hybrid Helix, and it's actually, I didn't know this, but it's the end of the first arc of the Hybrid Helix. So JCM Byrne is writing kind of like how like Brandon Sanderson is doing arcs for Stormlight Archive, JCM Byrne is doing arcs for Hybrid Helix, and this is the final book in that arc. Quite fun, seeing as it's also the final book in the first arc of the Stormlight Archive, which is coming out in December. So Joe's beaten Brandon to the punch. Now, running back through those books, so that's everything that I've read this week. I have this morning started Silence is Silver by Andrew Watson. I literally read a page before a new game came in the post that I wanted to play, so I put it down to play that game. However, let's run back through all these books. So Soul Stealer is my number one, that I started the first. So Soul Stealer, really, really interesting book. It's definitely one of the better self-pub debuts I've read in a while. I ended up rating this one a 4-star. I ended up rating it a 4-star. It was genuinely excellent. Like, if you are looking for a indie book, or even not an indie book, if you're looking for a fantasy book that has some slightly darker themes, but is not just like a relentless grimdark story, and is also got a really interesting magic system, and a softer magic system, which is, as you guys know, my personal preference. I really, really liked it. I liked also that it's queer normative. There are, queer characters in the book, and they're not like ostracized or othered. And so we've got these 3 central characters in Soul Stealer. You've got Ina, you've got Alexios, and you've got Faye. There are other POVs in the book, but those are the main 3. And all 3 are really interesting and really different. So you have one character is a young priestess, but she has a background that she's trying to hide where she was a sex worker. We have one character who is a hunter who is afflicted by this magical curse. And then we have one character who is like a 200-year-old like kind of political, kind of religious figure. Very interesting. And 2 of those characters can use magic, but both of the magic systems they use are very different, even though they seem to be related. So really, really liked that conceptually. And the whole story is essentially they're living in the wake of, like, a few hundred years ago, there being a huge magical event which was almost the end of all life as we know it. But the bad guys were kind of beaten back. But now the bad guys have returned, and no one really knows. And a lot of kind of societal changes happening at the same time. So you have like the mages and the religion are kind of working together for the first time. Lots of really interesting stuff. I actually have booked an interview in with Elle McInerney, who is the author of Soul Stealer. And she and I will be recording that next week. So I don't know whether I'll be able to get it out next week, because I'm recording it on so what day is it today? So it's the 6th. So I'll be recording it on the Thursday next week. So it won't go out until the following week, because obviously Friday is always the Friday show. But I've got a lot of interesting stuff to talk to her about. And she's actually just launched a Kickstarter for a prequel book called Overlord. And that one also looks to be really good. So if you are interested in that particular fantasy story, not only is it on Kindle Unlimited, so you can read it now as long as you have a subscription for no extra charge, or it's pretty reasonably priced like most indie ebooks. I think it's like £2, so absolutely really worth going out and giving that one a shot. I'll talk more about it so the review will be Monday, I think. Is it Monday? I think the review is Monday, so I'll be talking more about it then, and I'll do like a full review. However, pay attention on the channel for the keep your eye on the channel for the interview, which will be posted probably Tuesday after next, and also it'll be in my monthly wrap up, of course. And I ended up recommending this one as my pick for Philip Chase to read for SPFBO. So I ended up passing that one forward as the final recommendation. It was a genuinely really tough choice between Surviving Westcliff and Soul Stealer, and I ended up going with Soul Stealer seeing as it, and it was just kind of a bit more magical and fantastical. So Surviving Westcliff is very much grounded and not particularly fantastical. It is set in a secondary world, but there's no magic or anything like that. So the thing that I was thinking about was like, well, if we've got this book which has got, like, you know, these multiple different magic systems, it's got a lot more world building, yeah, I ended up picking Soul Stealer for that reason. But it was genuinely, it wasn't a toss of the coin, but I was close. Because I loved Surviving Westcliff, and you guys know I loved it. And I think one of the best things about that book was it was like really short and sharp, and it, you know, got in, did what it needed to do, and then got out. And I cannot wait for the sequel to that book if Thomas decides to write one. But Soul Stealer for me felt like it would have had more of a wide appeal amongst the judges as well. So I feel like, genuinely, I feel like Soul Stealer could go all the way and be the winner this year for SPFBO. Like, I have read previous SPFBO winners in the past, and I think that Soul Stealer is a better book than the ones that I have read. So if that doesn't give you a guideline as to how good I think that both Soul Stealer and Surviving Westcliff is, then yeah, I think it does. So I'd say I don't think it, if it doesn't, then I actually do think it does. Moving on to another Soul book, which is Soul Fraud. So Soul Fraud is an urban fantasy. As you guys know, I'm a huge fan of the Dresden Files, but the problem that I have had is that I've read everything. So I've read every Dresden Files book, and I'm in the very unfortunate position now of waiting for the next one. The last books, I think there was like a 5-year gap before Peace Talks, and then Peace Talks and Battlegrounds were released within like 6 months of each other, but only because they were originally one book. So Butcher had both of them ready, basically, because they were originally one book, and he just wrote a little bit more for kind of an ending to Peace Talks, and then we had Peace Talks and Battlegrounds released very close together. However, I'm now at a point where, like I've said, I am completely up to date on the Dresden Files, but I am basically always looking for something that is Dresden adjacent. So I'm looking for something that gives me the like Buffy vibes, the Dresden vibes, you know? And that is absolutely what I've gotten from Soul Fraud. So Soul Fraud is the story of Matt, and I've now already forgotten his surname. So Matt is is in a bit of a tough place. He's dropped out of college because his entire family died in a car crash. And he's living with his best friend, but he's in love with his best friend's fiance. And one day he goes out to the cinema to see a movie, to get away from everyone and to get some like time to himself. And while he's at the cinema, he's accosted by a demon, and the demon's like, "Hey, let me buy your soul for 10 years of happiness." And Matt is, you know, quite presciently, or like, Matt is not dumb, I guess, is where we're going with this. And he's like, you know what, actually, no, I'm not going to sell you my soul. And the demon is like, damn. And he just forges Matt's signature. And so defrauds Matt of his soul. And then Matt then is kind of drawn into the supernatural world by trying to fix this. And he meets all these supernatural characters, and there's loads of really interesting, like, behind the scenes fantasy things in you know, urban modern reality, and that's the exact same way that we see with Dresden. So you see people, and then these people turn out to not be, you know, 100% human. And then you see characters that are a lot less human. You see more demons. You see some like fae characters. Just genuinely fantastic. Loved the minimal world building that you get on top of the kind of urban fantasy setting, which is very, very similar to Dresden, in that Dresden very much is like, here's the real world, and then here's this like light dusting of fantasy, and then as you go through the books, more and more and more of that light dusting happens until it's basically everything is fantastical almost, but with this like lens of modern life. And I just really, really like that conceptually. The fourth book in the Soul Fraud series, which is called The Debt Collection, is coming out on September 24th. And I don't think I'll get to that one on release day. I mean, I might, but I do have to read 3 books. However, to enable me to get there, I have gone ahead and got the next 3 books. So they're all available on Kindle Unlimited. And here's a little pro tip for you. If you have Kindle Unlimited, like I do, you can borrow the ebooks from Kindle Unlimited. So I borrowed all 3 books, and then that unlocks the 50% discount on the audiobook for owning the ebook. So all 3 of them I bought all 3. I have now all 3 ebooks and all 3 ebooks and all 3 audiobooks for like £7. So genuinely great bargain hunting deal. Everyone should go out and pick that one up if they can. So yeah, if you are the kind of person who likes urban fantasy, if you like that kind of like joking through the adventure, through the drama sort of storytelling, which you see in things like Buffy and Dresden Files, then I would recommend Soul Fraud very strongly. And I would actually say, if I look back and think about my experience with Stormfront, which is the first book in the Dresden Files, I do think that Soul Fraud is probably better. Really interested to see how Andrew kind of takes the story in book 2. The opening line for book 2, which is like the preview chapters for book 2 are in the back of book 1, and the opening line for book 2, I was like, that's funny, I already want to read this book. So on Sunday I'm going to Oxford to do some filming with some other YouTubers, and also to just kind of visit and hang out with some friends. And it's like a 2-hour drive each way, and that will be over half of an audio of the next Debt Collection audio book. So that, combined with doing my shopping on my family food shop on Saturday, and then a drive to work that I have to do on Tuesday, is likely to be the entire audiobook. So I have decided that I'm going to start reading Dandelion Audit at some point over this weekend. Final book is that I want to talk about today is Silence is Silver, which is by Andrew Watson. I have literally read a page, so there's nothing actually to discuss about it. Just wanted to let you know that that's where I'm going book-wise. So if you are the kind of viewer that likes to read along, then I am reading that currently. I did have a thought, because I do have a few novellas that I've picked out to read over Self-Pub September, and I had thought about maybe doing a novella week where, because as you guys know, I do 5 videos a week. Monday's always a review, and then Tuesday and Wednesday are kind of like videos around that sort of thing. So sometimes it's an extra wandering in chapter, sometimes it's a full spoiler discussion, sometimes it's an interview with an author, but what I thought I could do is, for novella week, I could just do 3 novella reviews in a row, or I could do all 3 reviews as a single video. Personally, my preference is always, if there's gonna be a review video, I don't want to have to scrub through a video to find the review that I want and then go back to it if I read another book in that series or anything like that. I would just rather have that review as a standalone video. So that's probably what I will do. I know some people were like, no, just do 4 novella reviews in a single video and whatever, and maybe I will do that. I have heard through the grapevine that the YouTube algorithm does not like shorter videos at the moment, so it's wanting your videos to be over 20 minutes. So I don't want to hamper my content by doing loads of short videos. I don't know. I'm still deciding what I'm going to do. But yeah, I'm reading Silence is Silver. Then after that, I'll be reading Princess of Ordeer by Brian Wilson, which is a sci-fi novella in his series, which I don't know the name of, but the first book is called Forsaken Planet, which is a very cool name. Forsaken is just like a cool word. After that, I'll be back on the fantasy, and I don't know whether I'm going to read Return to Idan, which is the next fantasy book on the TBR, or I'm going to slide in the next deck collection book, because if I do that, then I will be ready for the final deck collection book to launch. And then what that would mean would be I would read that deck collection, then I would read, which I think is called Star Summit. So I'd read Star Summit, or is Star Summit the fourth one? Well, I'll read the third deck collection book, probably, and then I could read Dirge for Cascius. And once I've read Dirge for Cascius, then I will probably go to Wheel of Time. Then I'll need to find another sci-fi novella. I do actually have an arc of New York Minute by Stephen Arian, which isn't fantasy. I think it's like a noir thriller. I did think it was an urban fantasy when I requested the arc, but I'm up for reading a noir thriller, to be honest. So maybe I'll read that, and then I'll read Way to Idan. Way to Idan? I've already read that. Return to Idan. So that is the long and the short of a very long month of reading, unless some of those books fly by real quick. Silence of the Silver, according to my Kindle, will only take me an hour to read. So probably I will finish that and then go straight on to Princess of Ordeer afterwards, and read both this evening. So that'd be fun, being able to finish 3 books in a day, because I finished Eyes of Empire this morning. Shit, I didn't talk about Eyes of Empire. Oh, hello. I'm in the woods, and I'm here to talk to you about Your Paper Quest, a bookish subscription box that will get you 2 books, roughly 600 pages of self-published content every single month. But it's not just books, you'll also get bookish bits. You'll be invited to the Your Paper Quest book club, where you can chat with other subscribers about the books that you've received, and you'll be able to ask questions of the authors. The authors will also be posting a monthly interview where they talk about the books that they've written. If you're interested, you can sign up from the US or the UK, and you can use my discount code SAM20 to get you 20% off. Happy reading. We didn't talk about it. Let's talk about Eyes of Empire. So when I finished it, I instantly messaged Joe Byrne and was like, tell me when book 6 is coming out. You cannot leave me on that kind of ending, because every other Hybrid Helix books I've read, I've not had long to wait for the next book. And he was like, oh, it'll be out in the next year. And I'm like, no, because the ending is so good. I think that this is his best book yet. And you can tell that it is the ending of an arc, because he's tying a lot of things together. So he's tying together the plot from, there's plot elements from book 1, 2, 3, and 4, all tied together in this final book. It's a real win. I've got a lot of time for this one. Rohan is like one of my favorite self-published characters, and I really like the kind of character insight and the depth to which JCM Byrne went into Rohan in this book. So if you have not yet read The Hybrid Helix, I'm telling you right now, 5 books in at the end of the first arc, it's worth reading. The storylines all kind of merging and having this kind of big climax for the first arc really worked for me. It's a darker book, I would say, in some ways, than the previous books that in the Hybrid Helix, but it's not like dark for dark's sake. It's like, this is kind of it kind of puts Rohan in a crisis of multiple crises, which he feels like only he can solve, and the way he has to solve those is kind of putting himself on the line. I'll talk more about this when I do a full review, and I'm tempted to try and get Joe on the channel again to talk a little bit about this one specifically, and maybe a little bit of a spoiler chat. and maybe my buddy Usman from Bards and Books, because he's a huge Hybrid Helix fan as well. So, and I know he has probably, I think he's read, because he got the arc for book 5 the same as I did, so he's probably read it. So yeah, definitely one to check out. So we've talked about what I've read, what I'm going to read next. Videos wise, so videos on the channel this week, we had the review for Recursion by Blake Crouch. We had the Your Paper Quest unboxing. On Wednesday we definitely had a video, the August wrap up. Forgot about that, August wrap up, and you can tell that I forgot about that because I recorded it, edited it, and then just did not post it. So completely forgot to post it, and then realized that I hadn't posted it when I hadn't had any comments or likes at like 7 o'clock that night. So that's funny. I'm usually a bit more organized than that when it comes to the videos, as you guys, you know, I very, very rarely miss an upload. So that's the reason. If you're wondering why that was late, it's because I simply forgot. Next week we are going to have, on Monday, as I said, will be the Soul Stealer review. As I said, I don't really know yet what I'm going to do about these novellas, because I want to I've got a couple planned, and there's some more that I've seen coming out that I'm interested in, or that I've found since I made the TBR that I'm interested in. We've also I also do actually plan, so I've been planning for months to make some new e-reader videos. So I've had the books go colour 7 for a while now, and I have done a first impressions, but I haven't done a full review. I also have not done a full review for my Paperwhite, and I was thinking about doing a 1 year later review for the Kindle Scribe, which is also within reach, but I'd have to lean over too much. So I don't know how interested people are in those devices. So if you are really interested in one of those in particular, so the books, the Paperwhite, the Scribe, drop down below into the comments and let me know which would be the one you would most like to see a review about. I also have been planning for forever to do a Kindle comparison video. So in the back of my mind, I have a ton of Kindle videos that I want to make, but I have yet to actually do any. What else would I want to do? So I have been also thinking about doing another comics video, so like comics that I would recommend for beginners, people who've not read American comics before. I also would like to get back to reading, so I started reading Kagurabachi and One Piece, and I actually, whilst having started them, I've barely gone back to them. So I started them purely because I got the books and I was like, this is great for reading manga, and I read like 20 chapters of One Piece or whatever, and then like 10 of Kagurabachi, and then I never went back. Also, Shonen Jump has just added Dandelion to the regular catalogue. It's not split off into the adult version of the catalogue, so I really would like to read that, because I read like the first volume of Dandelion when it first came out and loved it. So I should get back to that as well. So maybe next week will be a manga video. Oh, I did say that we would do manga videos on the weekends, but we have some time to film next week, so maybe it'll end up being a weekday episode. One final bit of channel related, what's the term? Rigmarole, update, one channel update. So over the past week, the channel has exploded. So if you're a new subscriber, like, hello, I've had like 70 new subscribers this week, which is insane, but because we normally get like 17. However, if you're one of the new subscribers, you are in at the exact right time, because to celebrate 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to be doing a special event, which is in October. I'm going to be reading only books that are picked by the audience. So audience, you'll need to, there will be a video at the end of September celebrating if I hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of September, but it is likely, seeing as I said, I get around 20 a week, and even though the insane growth has now slowed back down to normal, I'm not really sure what triggered it. I did get retweeted by somebody with a fairly large Twitter audience, but don't know whether it was that or not. However, the channel has massively grown, and we are literally now like 10 subscribers away from monetizing, from hitting 1,000. So when we get that 1,000, there will be a celebration video, and in that celebration video I will ask for people to drop in the comments books that they want me to read. There will be a couple of rules, however what that will be is the rules will be like not hilariously off genre, so like I'm not going to read like Jilly Cooper or something. However, if you want me to read something like Fourth Wing, I'll try it. If you want me to read something like Triceratops and Bottoms, which Matt's Fantasy Book Reviews reviewed back in the day, and he couldn't even say the title of the book without laughing, I'll give it a shot. So I will accept clear trolls. If there is a particular book or series that you have been desperate for me to read, like if you're, for example, Laura, and you're desperate for me to read First Law, then here is your chance. Every comment on that video when it gets posted, so every comment on that video will go into a hat, and every single time I finish a book, I will rummage in the hat for the next one. So that's the plan. Also, I've been quite ambitious with my Self-Pub September TBR because there's so many self-pub books I want to read, but I want you guys to know that anything that doesn't get read in September, originally I was planning to make it the October TBR, but it's now going to be pushed into November. So we'll basically have Self-Pub 2 Electric Boogaloo in November. Although in every month this year I do still need to read A Wheel of Time. However, the next Wheel of Time book, which is Path of Daggers, is only a 20-hour audiobook, so it's genuinely half the length of Lord of Chaos, and like 75% of the length of the last one that I read, Crown of Swords. So this one will be a quick one. We've gone very, very off track. However, yeah, so that's what I'm going to be doing to celebrate 1,000 subscribers. I was expecting this so my channel gains around 100 subs a month, and well, I say that between 80 and 100 every month. If I am on someone else's channel and they have a large audience, it's usually over 100. If I'm not, it's around 80. However, it's normally so I was expecting to hit 1,000 subscribers in October, and then to do this event in November, which is why I was like, all the self-pub books I don't read in October can go into September, can go into October. If you are desperate for me to read something like Sword of Kaigan, which was on my stretch goal for September, then absolutely pop it in the hat. This is literally open to anyone. I would prefer if you are subscribed, because then I can make a video that's like, I read everything that my subscribers chose for me, which is like kind of like what Johan from Library of a Viking did, but where he was like, I'm going to read one book and it's from this Patreon poll. I'm going to open it up to everyone, and the entire month is going to be subscriber selected reading. The one rule that I'm going to give you guys is I'm not going to stick around and read a book for 3 weeks that I don't like. So if you want to give me like a punishment, bad, like terribly written book or whatever, like if you want me to read Ready Player 2, it is unlikely that I'm going to finish that book, but I will start every single book that gets picked out of the hat, and I'll even specifically use a hat. I'll use a Broken Binding hat. There you go. So that is what's going on for 1,000 subscribers, which should be like next week, unless we have another massive burst of activity on the channel, or a load of the subscribers that have joined over the last week turn out to be bots, which absolutely could be the case. So yeah, hope you are excited about that special event. 2 special events in a row, Self-Pub September and subscriber pick October? We need to think of a better name for that. If you've got an idea for a name for the event of October where all the subscribers are picking my reads, you guys pop that down in the comments and I will pick the best one and we'll use it. Other stuff, I have played a little bit of Star Wars Outlaws, video games wise, and it's fine. I don't like the stealth, so I don't know whether I will continue playing much more. And today I received Astrobot on the PS5, and I played about half an hour and was completely in love with it, grinning and smiling the entire time. So the Metacritic review of like 94% for this game, I don't think is hyperbolic. I think it genuinely might end up being one of the best games made in many, many years. So really looking forward to playing more of that this weekend. However, as you guys know, books come first, so we'll be reading a lot of books too. That's probably the end of the video, isn't it? We've gone on for a very long time. This is the first video in about a year that I have filmed in 4K. And so I'm filming this in 4K and I'll be outputting this in 4K to go on YouTube. Why film in 4K for my, single steady shot, sitting on a sofa, fun tuber video? It's because I've heard that YouTube is prioritizing 4K content over 20 minutes, which is why this video is in 4K and it's over 20 minutes. So I hope that you've enjoyed it. I haven't artificially lengthened the video. I've literally just talked about everything that I wanted to talk about, and not reined myself in as I normally would. So I hope that you've enjoyed it. If you liked this video, give it a like. If you have anything you want to talk to me about, and I would really love to hear what you've been reading this week, drop down in the comments and let me know. And of course, subscribe if you haven't, so that we can hit 1,000 subscribers. I'd really love to hit it, the sooner the better, really. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll speak to you on Monday.